Equal Rites is a story about various things. It's about magic and words and gender, but mostly about words, I think, and the power of them. It's about Esk, who was accidentally given a magic staff by a wizard on his deathbed, but everyone knows girls can't be wizards, right? It's unnatural. Equal Rites was the first Discworld book I read when I was about 11 or 12 years old, a little bit older than the story's main character, Escarina. I think that made me more likely to identify with her. She has that self-righteous anger of a child constantly being told no without any particular good reason. She's petulant and a bit selfish in that a bit too smart for and serious for their own good, childish kind of way. But the problem with that is she never really learns her lesson. She gets a couple of scares, but at the end she sort of gets what she wants and doesn't learn a lot from her mistakes, really. The other primary character is Granny Weatherwax, who is, like Death and the Wizards in the previous books, not really herself, which seems a bit unfair because she's Terry Pratchett's character and however he chooses to write her is unquestionably canon, but in the next 3 books or so she sort of comes into a character, so I won't really talk about it in this video. She's a witch, and a really good one, and that is right, because she's a woman. Get it? The Wizards are back, but again, slightly different. You get more of an idea of the Unseen University as a university, the hierarchy of wizardry and its place in the disc. You meet Simon, a young student at the university who's a bit too logically minded and attracts the creatures from the dungeon dimensions that you met in the last book. They are not nice. The wizards are old and powerful, blustery, but not unkind men. Get it? Are you getting it? It's not just a name thing. There is actually a difference between wizard and witch magic. Wizard magic is written down. It's about power. Witch magic is headology. It's about persuasion. Wizards see the universe and want to poke holes in it, and witches aren't looking at the universe because they're too busy doing more practical things. But everyone knows wizards are men and witches are women, and it's always been the law, spelled L-O-R-E. Get it? Words. Of course, Esk, being a child brought up with a healthy distrust of words, doesn't understand this, and she's pretty sure that if she can't be a wizard, she wants to be. Now would be a good time to talk to you about female characters in the disc, but I'm not going to. Still coming. I'm just preparing you. When I first read this a million years ago, it was more than a bit heavy for me. There's a lot of dark material lumped in towards the end, and it's sort of intense and unexplained, and the point is that it's unexplainable, but it's still just sort of there. The conflict isn't really comprehensible, so it's not as intense as it should be, and you're not as invested. There also isn't really a resolution, it just sort of ends. And everything's back to normal. And speaking of Esk, like I said earlier, her character arc just sort of trails off towards the end. She throws tantrums and runs away a lot, and yes, she's a child, and she's angry at the world, but she makes all these mistakes and gets exactly what she wants in the end without any repercussions of her actions. I did kind of like her, but she just keeps going, and being a witch is kind of better than being a wizard anyway, so can you just sort of calm down? I mean, to be fair, if she hadn't tried to be a wizard, then there'd be a giant hole in causality or whatever, so it all turned out for the best. All that aside, the humour is amazing right from the beginning. The dialogue, the characters, the scenery is perfection. This story is much more character-based than the previous 2, which I personally prefer. Ordinary people being ordinary people with flaws, but also magic. I personally would give it a 3 out of 5, if only because aside from the humour, which is always amazing, the characters and a few choice scenes, it's a little bit bleh. Mort will be up soon. I will see you then. Bye-bye. Also ignore the background. I'm at a friend's house. Yeah.
We're playing Assassin's Creed.
And speaking of Esk, like I said earlier, her
Oh my god.
I was speaking, like I was in the it wasn't like I was about to speak and then you started speaking, I was speaking and then you spoke.
I'm not listening to you.
Said Dr. Seuss.
Done.
You really should have said that Esk is a bitch.
I'm not gonna sit here.
Esk is a bitch!
I have to say why. I can't just say Esk is a bitch.
Can you put that as like a post-it note?
No.
I have sources tell me that Esk is a bitch.
You can't say that, but we can.
She's 9 years old.
She's a little shit!
You can't call an angry 9-year-old who has had people tell her what she can and can't be her whole life.
And ignored them!
All 9 years of
And gotten what she wants anyway. She's a selfish little bitch. Not selfish, just annoying.
That's true.